Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the opening round of Open Wheel for Amateurs 2023 Season 3, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone Circuit here in Northamptonshire, UK, presented by Ninja Botanicals and AlienAwards.net. We're bringing these Dallara F3 cars your way with a dual heat format, somewhat similar to real-life Formula 2 from a few years ago, where we're going to have both a feature race and a sprint race, 26 laps in the feature and 18 laps in the sprint today. Points for the feature race will go 30, 28, 26, 24, 23, 22, and so on. And the sprint race points will be 20, 19, 18, 16, 15, 14, and so on. Both races are eligible for the ever-important safety points that award clean and safe driving throughout the field. And as we had last season in E4A, there will be an A and B field split if over 12 drivers attend all first three races. We certainly have more than 12 here today. Even more exciting, we have the return of standing starts and the debut of my co-commentator for this season of O4A, a name you've seen at the top of the boards in E4A before, Aaron Claybaugh. Aaron, few tracks around the world are so synonymous with open wheel racing as Silverstone is. What makes this track so perfect for these types of cars?
Oh man, it's just a fast, windy bits. It just creates great racing. I'm really looking forward to seeing these cars go around here tonight and see some actual really good side-by-side racing.
Yes, I am super excited for the standing starts as well. These drivers will, just like in E4A, will have 4 laps to put in their qualifying effort. So we'll see who can really. We have really no idea, no way to base this off. This is a lot of these guys' first time doing these open wheel cars, but they're names that we certainly recognize at the top of a lot of the E4A boards week in, week out as being really fast drivers.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how Terry Calger fares in the F3 cars. I know, and we know that he's been very successful over in E4A. So curious to see if that will transfer to these cars or if he'll have a little bit trouble adapting.
And we have some other new names as well. Brian Privet and Jay Shallington, 2 names there that I think this is their debut race. A couple names haven't seen in a while as well, such as William Alcala, who and Will Borland. So some return names, some new names, some mainstays, and excited to see really how this shakes out. The F3 cars, we've driven them before a long time ago in O4A, and they just really provide close racing. They may not be the newest model in iRacing, but they just work so well.
Yeah, they have a great balance of speed. I know we did the F4 cars a couple seasons ago, and while they were a little bit slower and we thought the racing would be close, I think these are just the right balance where you have to put a little bit more driver skill behind the wheel, which creates a lot more passing opportunities. And slipstream, I think, is going to be a very big factor tonight with a lot of these long straights around here.
I think the other thing that we also need to bring up is that just like in F2 they don't pit for fuel, but the fuel limit is set such that they should not have to pit in the sprint race. Ideally, we'll see where that goes, but they should have to pit in this first feature. So we'll see how that works out for them. It'll be a difficult fuel strategy race. Fuel strategy is certainly more effective in open wheel cars with that undercut than it is in GT racing. So I think we can really see some strategy master classes change how this race works out. Now, you can see here at the very start of this qualifying session, Will Borland has put a commanding half-second lead on Nicholas Paletti there in second. It's already a second between first and sixth right now.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Will is just laying the gauntlet down and saying, if you guys want to beat me, you're going to have to put in a very strong lap to beat it. And that is a very impressive lap there. Yeah, just incredible. And then we see, it looks like Adrian jumping up there into second.
Yeah, putting a strong time in there. No purple sectors in that qualifying lap, but consistent enough through the entire way. And speaking of purple, Will Borland, our current pole sitter, has a purple in that third sector, so we'll see if he's able to improve on the time that he's already got out there. It's a decently long track. I think there are a couple longer ones in the calendar, but this is on the upper end of that.
Yeah, it is. And going back to your previous thought on fuel strategy, I think it is just looking at the lap count, because it looks like for the feature race we have 26 laps and then 18 for the sprint. I think it's going to be very close, and I think that's going to create some very good strategy, especially in the second heat, but also in the first heat, as far as when to pit and when not to pit. If you're stuck in traffic, might be beneficial to go in for an undercut.
Steve Cube very close there to unseating Will Borland's time, a couple tenths off. However, Borland is in the process of his, or I think maybe that second lap. He just put in that second lap, and it was not an improvement on his first. Brian Privet now makes his way up into third. That gap, that 1 second gap, has now stretched all the way back 11 places. So getting tires. Dan Real pips Borland by a tenth, putting it on the top there.
Yeah, that is a very strong lap. A very good lap from Brian there, new to Pony Express, and that is a very good first showcase for his speed and pace.
Christopher Newby moving his way up to fourth. I mean, we really have nothing coming into this that we know how to expect where drivers are going to be. So I couldn't tell you after this if a driver's going to be qualifying in or out of position. Terry Cowher Jr., again, our seasoned E4A veteran, all the way up in third place. I don't think that he had even owned this car prior to just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I think he said Spa was only his second day of running the car, which was our test race the previous week. So not a lot of experience in this car, but clearly, his skill from racing other vehicles on iRacing is transferring over here.
Will Borland, orange sectors on his first three and then purple on the last. Makes you wonder, maybe he's gearing up for this final lap to really put in another stormer and try to retake that pole position. But as it stands right now, Daniel Real is our provisional pole sitter. As you can see, going through Maggots and Beckett's, the car just barely hanging on there. I mean, it's got a lot of grip, and Borland takes it back.
Oh, Will jumps. Yeah, wow. Oh, man, it's just going back and forth here. See if Daniel Real can answer that.
Let's see, right now, Stephen Thompson on an all-green lap here, coming up to the finish line. See if he improves his position. Up 3 spots, 15th to 12th. Jay Shallington moves his way up to 6th, right ahead of Christopher Newby. Paul Boyle, not an improvement on his previous lap time. A couple green sectors, but unfortunately looks like first or last sector undid it. Zach Nurberger here in 18th.
And it looks like Terry's on some personal bests here, so he might be improving. Maybe not for pole, but maybe for second.
Nuremberger up 5 to 13th place as it stands. Like I said, Terry's on all green sectors right now, coming up to the final chicane here into club. Taking it well, doesn't clobber that curb too much, hanging it around this corner. Just got to avoid the huge turtle curb on the right side, and it's a straight run down into the finish line. See how this picked up to second place. Still 2 tenths off Borland, though.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be very tough for anyone to get to what Borland ran there.
I don't think Kevin Berquist is going to have time to put in a lap here.
Yeah, it looks like Borland just set another purple here, so he might be having another lap coming here that's even stronger than the one he has previously.
Yeah, unfortunately, flanked by a couple. Oh, going back and forth between some orange laps or orange sectors and some purple sectors. Again, purple meaning that was the fastest sector of the entire field. So a couple purple sectors here. See if he can improve that even more in this Aero McLaren livery. We'll have to get used to all the new liveries among the field. But this will certainly be a memorable one here if he can put it on pole in the first race of the season. And
oh my goodness!
Just the slightest of margins there, and stays in first, 2 tenths ahead. I don't think anybody is coming up to take away that pole position. Looks like pretty much everyone has their lap in.
Lap there, didn't move him up though.
John Kelly moving his way up 3 spots there into 15th place right at the very end. And that concludes our qualifying order. So we will get that set, the order of the drivers set up. So give us just one moment.
Yep, and we see some of the drivers starting to come out now for the standing start. So this is going to be very exciting. I don't think we've ever done this as a league before in an official race. So looking forward to seeing how this standing start shakes out here for everybody.
It's been a while. It has definitely been a while. Waiting on some drivers to take the field here.
Now, there's a few different ways. I ran the Spa race the previous week, so I kind of got a little bit experience of what these standing starts look like for these cars. Looked like some drivers were just throwing it right into first as soon as the lights went out, which was creating quite a bit of tire spin. I think the more preferred method that we'll see probably most drivers is using the clutch and slowly dropping it and slowly inching into the throttle. That seemed like a cleaner way to do the start.
Dan Real taking the grid there. He's in this this yellow F3 we have with Terry Calgary Jr. in that red number 9 right behind him. Numbers should help with identifying the drivers. Garcia Vigil back there in that Fernando Alonso era Renault. And ahead of him is Nicholas Paletti there on the left side of the screen. And Christopher Newby, the red, white, or I think that may be Jay Shallington actually in that red, white, and blue car.
Jay. Yeah, it's cool to see some of these F1 liveries, these iconic F1 liveries like the Benson Hodges car there that I believe Daniel Reel's driving. And I think there's a Michael Schumacher car back there as well.
They are revving up. There's no Will Borland not taking the grid, it looks like, waiting for the green. And it's a slow start for a 4th place there. As Dan Real's going to take the lead of this race. He's going to head him into the first place, and Terry Calgary Jr. slips behind to see if he can make a move. There is no passing rule, but look at the gap that they have pulled away from the drivers behind. Looks like no crashes at the start of the lines. A good start there for the drivers. There is a red flag rule if there is a big incident. Oh, and out wide goes Dan Real. Terry Calgary Jr. taking the lead.
Oh, there's a big wreck.
Oh, no, we're behind. I see a lot of drivers here.
It's a parking lot.
That is
going to be a red flag.
That is Zach Nurnberger, Richard Curry towing. Stephen Thompson may be involved in that. Mark Dillon Jr. at the back of the field. Looks like he has no damage. He may have avoided that, but yes, that is going to be a red flag. That is not going to be on the iRacing side. That is manually set up, so the drivers will all drive into their pit boxes, and basically the race will be reset, giving the drivers who had to tow or had to pit time to get back around and earn their way back to that same lap. So
just too many drivers going through the loop in the village there that just stacked up, it looked like, and all came together. I don't know if we have a replay.
This is Richard Curry on board here. It's just a lot of checking up.
A lot of accordion effect there. Someone checking up ahead just led to that mess there.
This is from the view of from Zach Nurnberger following his car here. That 32 on the inside, and just doesn't really see that car of Richard Curry there cut on the inside. Again, Curry kind of avoiding some slowdowns ahead of him in that Camel car.
That was almost like a Lewis Max crash at Monza there. That was wild.
Yeah, definitely mounting that car. This is William Alcala in the 673. He was the driver that was on the inside of that, got involved in that. Huge damage. Obviously, rear wings gone on that car. Christopher Craig, another driver involved. The 35.
This car is very hard to drive without a rear wing. If that happens in the race, it's going to be very hard to make it back to the pits. Thankfully, the red flag came out for him.
Brute Loop's car, and he continues taking that off-road, so looks like he got away with it a little bit better than others, although, of course, the red flag neutralizes the race. I believe everyone is actually in the pits now.
Yep, everyone making their way down into the pits. Everyone will enter their box. We'll get the order reset, and then once everyone's towed, we'll see everyone come back out. Tell you though, man, everyone was just trying to gun for that position like it was a very last lap of the race, but it's where you can get most of your positions in these open wheel races. I mean, you got to make up ground at the beginning.
Having some technical difficulties here. Trying to get it back and running. Give it just a couple minutes, and we will be right back with you and be back for the restart of this race. And we are back, and we have here the restart of this race. Will Borland is we're going to be at the front, so despite not taking that start of the grid, the red flag rules have him back at the front, so definitely recovering there in this race right now, and he's going to be able to start whenever he wants coming up to this line.
Yeah, that was a nice mulligan he got there. So we'll see if he can hold on to the lead now. He wasn't there for the start, so we'll see if he's got the pace to hold on to it now. All right, and there he goes.
As he takes it, and he's going to hold that lead. Right, again, the order has to work itself out here, but Dan Real is second place with Terry Calgary behind him.
Yeah, Will got a great jump there, and being able to control those restarts is very important, and he timed that perfectly to get a nice pull on Daniel there.
They're going to lead him down. Looks like no incidents back behind. We see some drivers certainly fighting for position.
Yeah, it looks like
Brian Privet just making the move.
On Jay.
They were close coming into that corner there, made the move. Terry Kiger Jr. has overtaken Daniel Real up front as well.
And that's a tough corner they just went through to go double file. Oh, and
and that's a Garcia Vigil off, luckily avoiding all of those cars. That could have been a disastrous wreck for all of those guys at the front half of that field. Luckily, not collecting anyone else to the best of our knowledge.
Yeah, William Alcala, Christopher Craig, unfortunately trying to avoid Adrian there, did get together a little bit.
Some more smoke
but have
up
some
front.
Damage.
That is the 56 off. Yeah, Nicholas Paletti down. Oh, and then a collision again for Richard Curry behind
Richard Curry
Paul
and Paul
Boyle.
come together. Oh, and they're still together.
They are stuck together right now.
Oh, that's heartbreak right there. Those guys were in it for a top 5, and now they're stuck off the track, and they're still having trouble getting going.
Shame to see up at the front of this field. These top 3 have started to pull away a little bit. Christopher Newby, a 4-second gap back to, or a 4-second gap up to Daniel Real. So those top 3 have really jettisoned away here. But that midfield is so close right now.
Yeah. Oh man. From what is it? Steve Kube. And on back, it is super tight, and anyone could make a move at any point. And thankfully, we don't have to worry about DRS trains, so we'll be seeing some moves as we come up to this straight. Yeah,
no DRS, no push to pass. This is all pure pace to pass somebody in these cars, so it's all skill focused here. Dale Barnett looking like he had a shot at a move on Nick Terrell in front of him, ended up having to back out of it. It looks like he's going to make a move here though. Right behind, pulls out to the side. Nick Terrell, nothing he can do coming down to this corner here, and I think he's going to be ahead before they even get into the braking zone.
Now, can Nick mount a charge back on him going out into the next corner? He should have the preferred line here, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like Daniel's got him clear.
Terry Kiger Jr. putting a purple lap in there at the front. Still 2 seconds off of Will Borland, however.
We got a close battle between Adrian and Steven here coming down the front stretch. Steven might put a move going into turn 1.
Oh, look at that aero wash. These don't have a lot of dirty air, but you could see it going through turn 1 there as he had issues through Abbey, luckily keeping it in the track limits here. Again, the incident counts is an important thing for earning these bonus points this season.
Yeah, got to keep it under 10. So that's important, especially with all these major incidents that have already happened, as we see Paletti putting the move on Brian. And he gets it done.
Brian Privet trying to fight back through Brooklands. The classic passing opportunity there down the Wellington Straight. May be the best passing opportunity on this track. However, this track is littered with chances if you're fast enough. Taking the liberty of the the room on the track there. Following Nicholas Paletti behind.
It seems like you can get around someone, but you got to have pace to really pull away. Otherwise, they're going to come right back around you here. As you see, Brian's closing back up through Nick again through these S's.
Yeah, this is the
like
one spot where you really can't make a move and maybe make a pass going into that complex of Maggots Beckett's, but once you're in those turns, and then that's unless you wreck, that's the order they're going to be in. So you can definitely take advantage of that from a defensive perspective. Looked like a little bit.
Oh, he gets close there.
Yeah, that was mighty close. Daniel Barnett and Kevin Burke was both making up a spot into that braking zone there of Stowe. Very difficult braking zone.
Yeah, just looking out front, Will is just checked out already with a 2-second lead over, or maybe 2.5 now over Terry. But Daniel Reel is not letting Terry get away. He's just holding onto the back, keeping in that toe so he can't pull away.
Yeah, Rael has not really fallen off after losing that position shortly after the restart, but has not been close enough to give it a fight. As John Kelly looking, oh wow, look at that, 3 wide. John Kelly just made the move on Nicholas Paletti, and now Zach Nurnberger behind getting involved. Nurnberger and Paletti side by side coming down this straight. That's Nurnberger with the pink car on the left side, and it looks like he's going to have the advantage into the braking zone here of Brooklands. He's going to pull ahead.
The big Corn Energy car gets Paletti there, although Paletti's going to come back at him here, I think. I don't think Zach's going to have the good run off. Yeah, here comes Paletti.
Yeah, Nurnberger gave him plenty of room on the inside. It maybe is undoing here because now he's really going to be fighting against the advantage Paletti's car positioning here. Side by side again, now coming. This is a Hamilton. A bit of a Hamilton Verstappen moment there, but no contact as it looks like Paletti's going to pull it. And actually, that's Garcia Vigil.
Oh my goodness, he thought about making it 3 wide there. That was a Paletti gets loose.
Oh yeah, he's stuck on the outside on the entrance to Maggots. Nothing he could do there. Has to back out of it. But we'll certainly have another chance coming down in here to Stowe, which seems to be a pretty popular passing spot so far in this race.
Yeah, this is just some fantastic racing here. I think Paletti might go for it here. We'll see. He does have a little bit of speed, and Zach definitely gave him a little bit of room there.
Yeah, he's got that spot. That was a great pass. Up at the front, Will Borland puts in a purple lap, just a couple tenths faster than Terry, but now has a 3-second lead on Terry behind. And that is Vahil's initially pressuring Nurnberger in front, but then immediately feeling some pressure from Stephen Thompson behind that.
I'll tell you, Vahil's done a really nice job bouncing back from that spin early on. I mean, when you overheat the tires in these cars, these things are undrivable.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking to imagine he's even there because you would imagine he would be at the back of the field right now and not fighting for the top 10. And he lock up on the front right. Looks like he's going to survive. And tough corner here. Thompson taking the inside.
Oh, my goodness.
Thompson's gonna take the lead here, and he has it looks like he has a bit of a run as well. I don't know who has more draft on the drivers in front. It looks like Thompson's gonna be able to win this coming into Brooklands here.
Yeah,
oh, but he's got him on the outside here. Oh, he takes it. He takes a huge nose ahead as Vahil kind of sets up for the next corner, but not close enough to earn that room.
And Todd Best played a big role there. He chose to go with Steven in the toe, and I think that ultimately was enough to propel him around Adrian there.
You can see here Vahil is down 8 spots, but like I said, a huge improvement, a climb up from an early incident that unfortunately took him to the back of the field. John Kelly is one of our largest gainers right now. He's up 6 spots, started in 15th, up in the top 10 now, and Kevin Berquist is up 8. I don't think Berquist, he didn't get a time in qualifying, so I guess we don't really know where he would have qualified. But Nick Terrell is also another driver up 6 spots in this field too.
Yeah, some great drives from those guys, and Will has continued to stretch the lead to 3.5 over Terry and 5 seconds over Daniel. So Terry's also breaking the toe now between Daniel and
Brian Privet near. I don't know if they collided. It looks like there's a little bit of damage to the front left. Yeah, there's damage to his front wing. That is major damage. That is probably going to be too bad for him to really hold up the pace. Just got caught off guard in the braking zone into the final club chicane there.
Now he is in the pit window. If he can make it back around without any major incident, it won't be the end of the world for him.
Yeah, they do have the fast repairs in this series as well, so that will save him. It looks like he is able to control the car reasonably well as he goes through debatably the toughest corner on the track there. And looks like Steven Thompson. Oh, he has unfortunately spun in that same corner that I just mentioned.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for him. Gets it going though. Didn't lose a ton of time, but 3 or 4 positions there, so that's unfortunate.
Bloody down 6 positions. Oh, might lose another here to Zach Nuremberger. Down 7 positions, and I don't think anything's come from a big incident. Just seems to have had some issues here later in the stint, but we still got a lot to go. We're lap 7 of 26, so anybody who's really beating up their tires right now, they need to think about the rest of this race as well.
Yeah, Paletti did have a minor spin going into turn 2 on lap like 3 or 4, and I think that did hurt his tires because it seems like he has a little bit more pace than Zach, but he just doesn't have the grip levels right now. So Zach keeps getting past him, and I think that's probably frustrating him a little bit. Yeah, but it looks like Adrian might be making a move here on Paletti soon.
Yeah, we saw a pretty Larry moment by him there into or through Luffold. Vaheel pulling out to the side. He's going to send it through. He's sending it through. Stout defense by Paletti. No touching of the cars. This is going to be another attempt here for Vaheel if he wants to make that move. Not the easiest pass back there for sure. I think he may be able to size up some stronger moves coming up in these next few corners.
These drivers are earning their money tonight. I am so enjoying watching this. This is fun.
Steve Cubay is hunting down Ken Huber in front of him here, and he's about to come up to one of the best passing opportunities on this track as he makes his way through the loop. Very difficult blind corner, whips it around. Does he have much of a run? It looks like he's actually fallen back a little bit, and actually Huber has caught up to Jay Shallington ahead.
Yeah, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th right now. You could kind of throw a blanket under them. They've kind of Constantine back together. As we see Adrian putting a move on Brian here. Brian fighting out with that damage. Hasn't pitted yet. Just trying to nurse it a little bit longer into the stint, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like he's handling it reasonably well, but each of these positions that he loses is going to hurt. He's going to have to make that up either through the pit strategy or back on the track once he gets those repairs. So, yeah, if he is in the pit window, which, of course, not a lot of these drivers maybe have the greatest idea of that considering this is the first race. If he is in the pit window, he would be behooved to come in now as that goes really wide by, I think that's Paletti's car there right in front of Vaheel. Yes, it was.
Yeah, Todd's got to run on Brian here now. So Brian might want to be thinking about taking a pit stop here soon. It seems like his car is really struggling now with that less downforce as the tires continue to wear a little bit more.
I'll tell you who's not struggling is Will Borland out here in the front. He just put in a purple sector 4 on lap 8 there, starting lap 9, and he now has grown that lead to nearly 4 seconds. Terry himself pretty comfortable as he has nearly 3 seconds on Dan Real behind as well. Oh, Zach Nuremberger. Okay. He was out for just a second. It's just a connection issue there, but he is defending his position hard.
Him, Paletti, and Adrian have come right back together, and Paletti almost put a move on him there. This is probably the closest battle on the track right now, besides maybe Steve Cubay. Trying to put a move maybe on Ken Huber going into turn 2. He is on his bumper. Don't know if he'll get a run down the straight here or not.
We'd see Mark Dillon into the pit lane. Let's see this. Okay, so this looks like oh no, there is damage to the front left of that wing. So I don't know what happened to Mark, or if that was something that he's been nursing for a while, just trying to get to the pit window. But there is some damage to that car.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Mark, but I'm happy to see him out here. Hope he's doing a little bit better with his injury.
Yeah, it's been a little bit since he's raced full-time. Hopefully we see him full-time here. We have such a large field and a lot of positions to be gained in any of these races. So still a lot to race for here. And anybody who's having a bad race here, they still know that they have that sprint race to really try to make up points. Again, I don't think we mentioned it yet. The sprint race does have reverse grid for the top 10. So keep an eye out on that as well. It'll help mix things up even further, although in this race we have not needed help getting things mixed up. Action is all over the track. I can only catch so much.
Oh, Kubay's going for it.
Cubay makes the send. It's been pretty successful for drivers on the inside in this corner so far. He's going to have to be on the outside going on the club, though. He's actually behind. Did not have that momentum. He's going to stick behind going through club.
but he has been sizing Ken up these last few laps. I think Cubey is going to have a shot at him, hopefully going down the next straight.
Yeah, it's been stout defense by Ken Huber there in front, and it does not seem to be overly phased by Cubey's car behind, but it does seem like he just needs a good opportunity here, Cubey, as Brian Privet comes into the pit lane. So getting that front wing fixed and getting the fuel topped up, because again, their fuel tanks will not take them this entire race.
Yeah, and that was much needed for Brian. I think we're going to see him making some comeback through the field once he gets that wing repaired here.
You can see that the gap between Huber and Cubey has remained pretty much identical, just sub half second for the last 3 laps. I mean, sub 1 second for the last 7 or 6 laps. So these guys have been very equally matched in pace. Just have to wonder if maybe that pit strategy starts to come into this. You know, Cubey deciding maybe to do an undercut, as Stephen Thompson looks like he just made a move on Nick Terrell after that early incident. We saw him spin and fall to the back of the field. He's made up another position, however.
Yep, Steven fighting back, Adrian fighting back, and I think Cubey is sizing up Huber here for the Hainer straight. I think he's going to be able to put a move on him by the end of this straight, possibly if he gets a decent run out of the corner.
See Cubey coming down here, trying to make his way down into Stowe. He tried to make that move earlier on the inside here. Stowe, he seems like he's further back than he was last time. Nothing doing there, but maybe a good run, making it his way into through Vale into Club.
Yeah, not quite close enough yet. He's just got to follow a little bit closer, which is very difficult in these cars as the tires start to wear a little bit more. I think you're seeing less overtakes just because you can't follow as close coming out of the corners, and then you can't get that strong enough toe to put the move on in the braking zone.
Okay, this has to be frustrating for Cubey here. At least if Cubey feels like he has more pace than this, it's very possible that they're both giving it 100%, and this is everything they got. They come very close there into the village section. Oh, they come even closer. That may have been a touch.
Yeah, there was some contact there, very slight. I don't think it damaged either one of their cars, but there was a slight touch there. I think Cubey is just letting them know, hey, I'm here and I'm ready to get around you.
I don't see any damage there on Cubey's car. I mean, a whole lot more to be damaged on that front wing than the rear of Ken Huber's car. So in any event that there was damage, it would certainly do a lot worse to the car behind. I don't know if it's from that incident, but that looks like some crinkling on that front right of that wing for Cubey.
Yeah, there is slight damage there. It's not as bad as what we saw on Brian's car earlier, but I think it probably is hurting the performance a little. But before that, I mean, they were both closing Jay down there. They were both, despite them racing hard, they were closing Jay down, but now Jay is getting a little bit of a reprieve and able to pull away a little.
Zach Nurnberger trying to chase down Vahil. That's probably out wide there, probably catching the off track there. And Todd Bess is a 10th behind him.
Thinking about it. Todd almost thought about a move there, but obviously this is not a part of the track where you want to go double file because you just lose too much time.
Yeah, Bess has really closed that gap. It was slow going, but something happened on this lap. Maybe Nurnberger getting held up a little bit in this battle with Vahil. Something happened where Bess has really closed up to Nurnberger from behind now.
We're starting to see some pit stops. Cubey comes into the pits, so he's one of the first front runners to come in. Probably get that wing repaired that he got a little bit of damage from, and Nurnberger also coming in.
Nurnberger, I think, our first driver in the top 10 without any damage to make a pit stop, unless he had some damage I did not see on the car.
And I don't think there's any damage, so that's at a lap 11 pit stop, almost splitting the race in half with this being 26 laps. So interesting call there. And they will all take tires on their pits because it's the same amount of time, so that shouldn't have any impact. So everyone will be coming out with fresh rubber and ready to attack a little bit more.
Yeah, and just even further clear that the pit stops will be much shorter than we experienced in E4A. The cars fill up a lot faster. They use less fuel, so won't be surprised. I mean, we can already see there Nurnberger back out on track. Normal E4A stop, we're looking at 40 seconds or so. That's not what we're getting here today. We'll try to get a better idea of how long these pit stops take as we get through this season. Try to maybe make some estimates on how strategy is going to work out with where people come out. But this will be a good rule or a good measuring stick in this race here.
I'll tell you, Brian, just for reference, once the field cycles around, he is on Zach Nuremberger's bumper, and he was a few seconds back off of Zach before pit stops. So getting that damage repaired and running those quick laps out in clean air has really made a difference, and has turned Brian's race around a little bit here.
Nick Terrell wanted to make that move on the outside of Leonardo Elijah in front, but Elijah shutting that door, and I don't think Nick Terrell saw that coming.
No, not at all.
Nick Terrell currently running here in 15th place, just behind Elijah, who's in 14th. Both of these guys up a lot of spots from where they qualified, so beginning to maybe feel more comfortable in this car, or maybe they're race pace versus quali pace guys.
Yeah, times are starting to come back down into the 53s again. Track has gotten a little bit warmer, but Will Borland ran a 52.8 last lap, which is like a lot of people's quali pace. So he is stepping it up another level as he pulls, it looks like 6.5 seconds, as we see Cube putting a move on here.
Well, yeah, Cube just lost that spot to Elijah. Cube on his outlap here, we saw him come in, fix that damage, was running up pretty high, and I wonder if maybe he's just struggling a little bit getting those new tires really in the window, because that move by Leonardo Elijah looked relatively simple.
Yeah, it looks like Cube's actually turning the wheel a little bit in the cockpit, trying to get some heat into those tires. So I think he nailed it there, Zach. I think he's just trying to get his tires back in the window.
Yeah, that'll be another interesting thing that we kind of observe through this, is how, what that outlap is like and how difficult it is to really get those tires turned on, how much of an instant or advantage or disadvantage you have. It does seem a little bit like there's a disadvantage, at least in that first lap. So that'll add some spiciness when we get some drivers next to each other who are on different pit laps.
Yes.
Mark Dillon Jr. in the pits. Unfortunately, looks like he may have had an incident that has taken him at least out of this race so far.
Yeah, he looks to be really the only driver besides him and Daniel Barnett that have put it on the hauler. So 21 cars still out there. A lot of things can still happen with these strategies. And right now, I think we're in the part of the race where drivers are just trying to make it to their pit stop and get in that window. So I think we're just seeing a little bit the calm before the storm.
And as we have some more pit stops happening, just a little bit past halfway through this first heat here, Jay Shallington coming into the pit lane. As you can see, actually, because of the shape of the pit lane, gains a couple positions on his way in, and then proceeds to lose them again. But it is a pretty quick pit entry. It's one that you need some practice on. It's not the most simple one, and it can definitely help some of these drivers in this first race. The second race shouldn't need a pit stop, but we'll see when we see the last of these guys pitting. Again, the sprint is 18 laps. It could be close, depending on fuel usage here.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's going to be very close, and this will be essentially we're setting up the second race here, so I'm excited to see how far these guys can go into their stint.
So let's see Shallington here. He just came out of the pits. We just saw him come in, and let's see how that car kind of reacts. It does not look hooked up yet, that's for sure.
Oh, and it looks like Brian, unfortunately, has had to come back into the pits here. So whatever he was making up there, unfortunately, looks to have come undone a little bit.
Yeah, that's a disappointing. He had a really good start to this race, a good debut showing. Still has a sprint race to really show off, but unfortunately, this race a little bit undone after qualifying in 8th position.
Yeah, one of the more interesting battles on the track right now is the battle for 10th. So we have, I know there's a little bit of a gap there, but once pit cycles cycle through here, you want to be in 10th, and I think there's going to be a lot of aggressive moves towards the end of the race to get into that inversion window so you can start on pole in the next race.
Willem Alcala there, you see, was a little slow going, recovering from, it looks like probably a spin in Aintree or the loop.
Christopher Newby is in from 4th, so he's one of the highest runners so far to take a pit stop, so it'll be interesting to see where he cycles out.
And let us also not forget to mention that the guy crushing it out here in first right now has 11 seconds on this is a Max Verstappen performance right now in this race. I mean, how fortuitous, of course, that he was able to reclaim that first after not. We'll figure out later, but for whatever reason, not able to make the grid but was through some chance able to reclaim that first and has sailed away with it. No one is even close to him right now.
No, but I can't wait for the second race because he's going to be starting, if he does pull off the victory here, he'll be starting 10th, so he'll have to come through the field, which could be a whole nother challenge because these cars handle so differently in traffic. So he might be quick now, but will he be quick in the second race? We'll only find out.
Jay Shallington actually has the fastest lap in the field, and that was that in lap that we saw where he peeled in. So really practicing that pit entry, but also it goes into the grass there for Borland, but taking advantage of that in lap, really pushing as hard as he can because, the tires are getting trashed anyway.
Yeah, and we got a really close battle right now between Christopher Newby and Steven Thompson. Steven's going to have a run here in the Cops.
Thompson already closing up to the back of that newbie car, that 115, but nothing doing here. He's going to try to stick behind.
Oh, he goes wide. Christopher Newby goes wide there and opens the door. I don't think Steven can put a move on him here, though.
Very close. Yeah, that's the if you don't try to fight it into Cops, you may get hung out for a good amount of the track because once you get to Magus Beckett's, like I said, you kind of got to stick behind unless you are really, really brave. He's going to try to pull to the outside here of Stone. Nothing doing there.
And that's the other thing. Christopher Newby is on an outlap, so I think his tires are just a little cold here, and that's part of why Steven's able to mount a charge, especially on low fuel.
You can see they're stronger on the brakes with those warm tires for Steven Thompson, but was not trying to size up a move there. If our kind of theories are about the first lap correct, if they are right, then we may see Newby start to pull away before Thompson's able to make another wholehearted move here.
Yeah, we see Will has continued now to stretch the lead. So Will, I think he might have actually been saving his tires a little bit for that stint because it was about a 5-second gap for probably the first 10 laps. And these last couple laps, he has just turned up the afterburner and has just completely left the field in the dust.
Yeah, either a deliberate tire saving or just, the way that he drives just really takes care of those tires. And Terry's starting to feel a drop off from that. We can see here, this is Terry. It really started, something happened 2 laps ago where I think there may actually been a mistake by Terry in there, a loss of probably 4 or 5 seconds all at once. And Borland in the pit lane.
All right. So that was 16 laps. He'll be coming across the line for lap 17.
So 18 is the sprint.
Yeah, keep that in your back pocket. I mean, is anyone going to be able to stretch it that extra lap for the sprint? I mean, that'll be interesting. So it does look like everyone else is coming in here. Terry Calgert, Daniel Reel. Although Ken Huber stays out. So Ken able to stretch the fuel tank a little bit longer, and he'll inherit the lead here.
That's how quick those pit stops are there. He got the fuel, got the tires, and he's out. And it actually already looks a little bit slidey. But with Terry Calgert coming into the pits, Borland stays in first. His pit stop was so fast that Ken Huber did not catch up to Borland. Because of the red flag, I guess he right now Borland could be on for a Grand Slam here in this race.
Yeah, it would appear so, because, Ken was in 4th place. It's not like he was really that far back, but just the time delta on the track is just massive, and the pit stop wasn't able to. And as you see Will swerving back and forth there, trying to get the heat into the tires.
Here is the pit time that we have for this. Again, of course, Ken Huber's 2 minutes 12 because of the red flag. Everyone else, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at 7 seconds, 8 seconds.
Actually, it looks like we might have some drivers that only took fuel. The 5-second, 4-second range is a fuel-only stop. So it looks like Zachary Nurnberger there, maybe Kevin Berquist. Interesting strategy there.
Yeah, we'll see how that pays off for him. We'll see if they start to really fall away at the end. And then if we look at overall pit lane time, it's for most drivers a little bit under 40 seconds. So we can try to keep that in the back of our head for, well, if someone has to pit in the sprint race, but also just in future races, somewhere around this kind of time is what we're looking for pit loss.
Yeah, I'll tell you who made up a lot of ground through the pit cycle. Christopher Newby, who was 4th before all the pit stops began, He is only 1.5 seconds behind Daniel Rio, who was in third. So that is going to become, I think, an interesting battle as this race winds down.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll bring up here is the pit lap. So we can see here when the drivers win in the pits. So Ken Huber does. That may have technically counted as a lap led there by Huber as he crossed the line in first through the pits. So may have spoiled the Grand Chelem there by Will Borland. But the drivers here, most of them around that 15, 16, 14 mark, but a couple are earlier. You see Steve Hubé, Zach Nurnberger. And, well, we think Nurnberger may not have taken tires, but with Steve Hubé, we'll see if his tires start to fall off.
Ken Huber did not take tires, and that might be enough to keep him out ahead of these guys and undercut them, or overcut them, rather.
He is in third, and he does not have the tires cool off a little bit, but they're not cold tires like a lot of the other guys leaving the pits. So that's a couple places hopped there. Let's see that pit time and see if our theory is correct. Yeah, it does seem that way. So that when we're looking at those guys who are in the 4-5 second range, those are the guys who did not take tires. So there is a slight delay to it.
Yeah, and that was a brilliant move by him, because I believe he was 4th or 5th before the pit stops, and now he's got some clean racetrack on for a podium. See if he can finish it off. Although I think those guys behind him will be challenging him before this race is over on those fresh tires.
Yeah, he's got a 1.5 seconds to Dan Real behind. We'll try to keep that number in the back of her head, see if that's able to grow or shrink. It seems like it's staying pretty steady so far, but once we get to these final laps, we'll have to see if these tires really hit a cliff or not.
Yeah, actually looks like those guys are the closest really on track right now, so just keeping an eye on them to see what happens. Nurnberger, with the no tire strategy, does he seem to be closing in here on Garcia a little bit?
He seems to have at least fallen back through the last few corners. We'll see where this is able to put him. And again, we got to keep in mind as well the A-B class split. Again, the points are overall. So 7th place is 7th place. You know, John Kelly doesn't get first place points for B class, but he is first of those B class drivers. So there'll be nobody trying to just give other drivers positions. We'll still see battling throughout the field, but it is still that secondary competition happening behind the scenes as well, especially once we get later into this season. And in E4A last season, we had some really tight battles in the B class for both, really.
Absolutely, yeah. That is a very close battle right now between John Kelly and Steve Hubé for the win in B class. And they're all closing on Jay and Christopher Newby here. Christopher Newby has really fallen off the back of Daniel. And I think this is going to cause this group here to really bunch up, and we're going to see some great racing here as this race winds down.
Yeah, and just to give a little clarification in case you're confused on why we're racing these open wheels here today, the new format for this season is alternating weeks with open wheels and then open wheel for amateurs and then endurance for amateurs and open wheel. So it's going to flip back and forth each week. And again, next week is when we debut the new LMP3s. It'll be LMP3 cars and GT3 cars, still keeping that AB class split. And excited for a fun debut race there.
Yeah, really looking forward to Daytona with the LMP3s. It seems like they have a little bit more corner speed than the GT3s, but straightaway speed, I think you're going to see a lot of slipstreaming and a lot of passing, which I think is going to make for a very exciting race, almost like a NASCAR race. So, be exciting.
Real here has caught up a little bit. We had that 2.5 seconds that came out. Last 3 sectors faster than Ken Huber. Slightly slower in that sector 1, but especially sector 4 there, catching up 0.2 as is. It's down to that sub 1 second. And coming up near to the end of this lap, I think that'll be about 0.5 seconds or so that he's gained just on this lap alone. It's going to be pretty difficult, I think, for Ken Huber to really keep that podium spot with those old tires.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing it. The slower parts of the track is where the new tires are really making a difference. The sector 1 here is a quick bit. I don't think they make a huge difference through here as you see him closing a little bit more, getting that down to 0.8 of a second now.
Yeah, it looks like he stayed pretty equivalent. Actually, Huber faster again there in sector 1, so It is not totally falling away from him. He still has just 6 laps to really defend this, so 10 or so minutes remaining, and we'll see where this takes them. We'll have to, see how this kind of tire degradation goes. It does show at least that for the sprint race, the tires can last 18. It'll be okay. You don't have to. They're not going to have to pit for tires in this sprint race, which was not the plan. So that's at least good that that'll work out.
Yeah, fuel is going to be a big question mark. We saw, what was it, Ken Huber. He did the most laps. He did, I believe, 18 crossed the line on his 18th lap. So it's going to be super close. We might see some fuel saving or some kind of strategies, maybe like a lap 1 pit in the next race, which I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Well, and I think it's also, we got to remember that he pit on lap 18, but that also includes a very slow red flag lap. So not burning a lot of fuel on that first lap there.
Cube just kind of backing off a little bit on John Kelly for the B-class lead. I think he's probably just cooling his stuff down as he mounts another charge here with, it looks like 5 laps to go. So
yeah, those two drivers have a little bit of an advantage, a little bit of a gap to the other B-class drivers behind. Paletti and Garcia splitting those guys up from Nurnberger and Bergquist on back. Bergquist was a mainstay in our GT3 B class last year, and John Kelly won our LMP2 B class. So drivers in similar positions somewhat to what they are in E4A. Some are totally different. And actually really none of the A-class drivers have had too much of a tough race, with the exception of, unfortunately, Brian Privet. We saw that first incident, and a second incident happened somewhere where he had to take a second pit, but he certainly has that pace, but the only A driver to really be out of this race right now.
Yeah, also want to say rough race for Paul Boyle and Christopher Craig. Had some major incidents there at the beginning, and Richard Curry as well, with Paul and Richard getting stuck together. So they're just trying to bounce back as much as possible. Somehow maybe try to work their way into the top 10, although that's going to be a tall ask.
Stephen Thompson just took this position on Kevin Bergquist. It goes a little bit wide. Bergquist actually really nailing that corner, but washing out here in Luffold now.
We'll see if he gets some run here, trying to maybe set him up for the Hainer Straight.
Yeah, I don't know where Stephen Thompson came from, because I did not see any battles that looked that close, and all of a sudden he had that spot. So I have to wonder if maybe there was a very minor mistake by Kevin Bergquist. The pass did happen right after what seems to be the most mistake generating part of the track, and actually Dan Reales now cut that down to 2/10 as they came through Cops there, or came through Stowe. It seems like it's starting to get pretty close for Real to make that pounce.
Yes, it is. As Will Borland has still got a 12.5 second lead. Now he is starting to work through a little bit of lap traffic, not much, but don't expect him to be trying any crazy moves here, and we'll probably just be very patient as he tries to lap Brian here. So yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen there.
I think so far this second stint has gone to show, where Terry Carger Jr. has those strengths right now in this car, because he has not really fallen that far off of Will Borland, who has been obviously dominating here, but has pulled way ahead of third place. And the third place before was Dan Real, who's trying to take that back. Ken Huber is in third place now. He's much further ahead from third than he was before. So I think that Terry, in those first few laps of a stint, is absolutely up there. Will Borland has currently that kind of long stint race pace over the rest of the field right now, though.
Yes. The interesting part will be Terry will be starting ahead. If they finish the way they are right now, we'll be starting ahead of him in the next race. And ultimately, it'll be who can get through the traffic the best. So we see Daniel Reel pushing out a little wide there. That's probably an off track. But he'll try to maybe set him up and try to get a run on the Hainer Straight here.
Yeah, you really don't want to be too close coming through Maggots Beckett's. You got to do, if you're that close, you got to do a lot of lifting, and it seems like he's starting to nail this as the gap has actually gone down through a couple of those corners, trying to get as much of a slingshot as possible without leaving too much of a gap ahead.
Yeah, no, unfortunately cannot open that lane and get DRS, so he'll just sit back there a little bit longer, but I think he's got the time. I think he can get it done, but we'll see.
I gotta say, looking at some of these shots, looking forward to iRacing eventually rescanning this track. It is not the prettiest track on this service. It's a bit of an old scan. Doesn't look amazing. The new Willow Springs, not in the calendar right now, but just gotta say it does look fantastic. I'm excited for the future of this service, and it's really gonna kind of elevate these broadcasts, make them look a lot better, and hoping to bring that to you in the future.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to get, now that they got that partnership with the FIA, maybe some updated F2 or F3 cars to watch run around this track as well. That would be really nice with the halo and all the changes that have occurred.
Yeah, these F3 cars are from like 2010, so they are accurate to what they are, but they are very old. The cars are not like this anymore, and a little bit outdated, but very fun to watch. But
here comes John Kelly here on
yeah,
Jay.
he's flying.
This is an important move. If he can get Jay between him and Steve Kube, this could really impact the race. So he wants to get that security blanket.
Yeah, both drivers taking tires. Looks like, at least from the pit time, Jay Shallington.
John's got the run here. I think he's got him. Maybe not.
May have caught him too early. We'll see. He's gonna be able to pick. He's not pulling out. Yeah, he's gonna stick behind going through cops. Now has to probably wait through Beckett's here. That may have behooved him to make an aggressive move there rather than kind of get stuck here, because you can see there Nicholas Paletti starting to catch up to the back of him now.
Yeah, Steve Kube has a huge run. He is going to be right on John here, coming down Hainer Straight. This is going to get really exciting here as we wrap up this race for the B class.
Paletti getting a little scared there, I think. Some a pretty big, or not Paletti. That was Kube there, checking up pretty majorly for Kelly ahead, and Paletti avoiding that as well.
Yeah, this is definitely the closest battle on track. I mean, we got P5 all the way back to P9.
That was close. That was really close. Very strong on the brakes for Paletti. Seemed maybe a little bit stronger than the car in front. Yeah, that nailed that curve. That was loud.
You have to wonder if that did some damage to the suspension there. I don't know. Thankfully, there's only, it looks like 2 or 3 laps to go here. But man, he needs to be a little more careful.
Yeah, luckily, I suppose Defray a little bit harder to miss the final lap on this.
John Kelly move on Jay. Oh, he's gonna go side by side down the straight here. He might have it done before we even get to the corner. No, Jay fights back.
They're side by side heading down into Brooklands. Kelly's got the beneficial inside line, but that turns into the outside for Luffold. They are side by side still going through. Kelly is ahead. He is ahead of Jay Shellington now.
Gives him room though. Can he fight back?
Oh, aggressive.
Not quite.
I think that may have just been the line he was trying to take to really carry as much speed through there as possible. Seemed to open the door a little bit to Shellington behind, but Kelly closing the door when he could. And that was a purple sector won by John Kelly. He is one of the fastest guys on track right now.
Goes out wide. Here comes Kube.
Paletti, Kube, and Shallington all next to each other, but they got to line up here for Beckett's.
This is so important for the B class win, and Kube knows it. He is trying everything in his power to get around Jay here.
Nicholas Paletti is keeping up right behind. He's trying to stick his way in here. Paletti in the A class, but he is fighting on Kube here right on the inside. He has a run coming down into Stowe. I think he's going to have that move on him and then try to get after Jay Shallington here.
Yeah, Paletti knows that those guys are in B class, but he's also trying to fight for the overall points that he needs to keep in the fight for the title, so not giving them a break there.
A little bit of a lockup by somebody ahead. That may have been John Kelly, considering he's at the front of that group, but just the slightest lockup.
Kube's got to run. Will he go for the move?
Not defensive by Paletti. This is not an easy turn to fight through. Here through Abbey. Plenty of room for Paletti on the outside, but he still loses that spot there.
Fantastic move there by Kube. I don't know how he had the grip. I'm thinking maybe low feel, but man, that was a great move.
Yeah, he looked like he was on rails there, and somehow, despite Paletti being on the outside of that corner, it looked like he was the one that was hung out to dry.
Yeah, but here comes Paletti fighting back. At this point, they're just fighting for this position.
This is lap 25 as well. This is the second to last lap, penultimate lap here as he sends it down the inside, takes the position into Brooklands, come through Luffold, but let's see if he keeps it because there is no position solid between these two guys over the last few laps.
So unfortunate. John Kelly is just getting smaller and smaller out his front windscreen here.
Yeah, I think it's down to these two guys now. And by the way, Ken Huber has actually pulled away from Dan Ray out the front. It looks like he's going to solidify that podium position and give some thought to the drivers in future weeks on if taking the tires is really the answer or not sometimes.
Yeah, incredible job by Ken. He fought off Daniel when Daniel's tires were the freshest, and now that they equalize out a little bit more,
that's a white
he's
flag.
very strong.
Will Borland has crossed the finish line for the white flag, so this is the final lap. These guys are coming up to the final sector of this lap, and we will have one lap to go for him. Cube has not been able to reclaim that position from Paletti in front.
Nope. Another close battle, but nothing happening yet. Zachary Nuremberg and Steven Thompson fighting for 11th. That is important. If something happens to someone in the top 10, they would be in the 10th spot and get into that inversion. So something to keep an eye on as we get to the end here.
Yeah, both these guys in B class as well. Two of the top runners, and Thompson trying to recover from an early incident that he had, doing his best, trying to make his way into into 11th place. We'll see where that puts him. Followed back that Cube Paletti-Shallington battle, though, and actually Paletti has caught up a little bit to Shallington, but that's a pretty big ask here in just the final lap.
Yeah, and they're both closing on Jay. It's going to be very interesting because Paletti's going to get the tow from Jay, which is going to make it more difficult for Cube to get a run here. All the while, Adrian just sitting back there lurking. If something happens to these guys, he is ready to pounce and take the positions.
Yeah, nothing doing for Cube here. Still has some opportunities later. Borland has now made his way through Maggots Beckett's, has just a few more corners to claim the first win of this season with this new format. And obviously, and Christopher Newby may have had an incident.
Oh, no.
Something happened with Christopher Newby. He is...
Yeah, something happened. He is not on the track, which is so important now. Zachary Nuremberger and Steven Thompson fighting for that 10th position like we were talking about for the last inversion spot.
And
who will start on pole in the next race?
Will Borland here is coming across the line. No battle behind him, but crosses the line in first place. He is our winner for this first feature race. What a win for him. Unbelievable dominance in this race. And we got some positions behind to be fought for. This is Cube trying to get Paletti yet again.
Keep an eye on him. Cube is a little bit stronger on the brakes, I think. He might try a move going into these final few corners here.
Steven Thompson maybe making a move on Nuremberger at the exact same time back there. Can't look at both, unfortunately. Lock up by Cube. I think Paletti's going to keep this spot. Let's look behind. Steven Thompson sending it.
Wide.
Final corner.
He knows that's for the pole position. Is he going to get it?
He is not going to get it. What a defense by Nuremberger here at the end of this lap to keep that reverse grid pole. That is such an important position, and unfortunately, Steven Thompson, first man out. He's going to finish 11th and start in 11th in the next race.
Yeah, as we see some of the other drivers coming across here. Don't know exactly what happened to Todd Best. He had some very strong pace in the first stint before the pit stops. Unfortunately, wasn't able to quite bring it home as well as he probably wanted to.
Paul Boyle definitely will be wishing to have a better race here in this next one in this sprint as he brings it across the line in this Rebel painted Dallara F3.
That is a nice car there, but it does need another logo with a Doge on it.
Yeah, it's got to represent the team. Couple guys left to cross the line. Christopher Craig in his Fruit Loops car. I just noticed that the nose is supposed to be the toucan nose. That actually is great. I love I like it even more now. And Nick Terrell back there as well in his Mountain Dew.
Yeah, Nick Terrell, I think he didn't get a lot of practice this week, so I think he was just trying to get up to speed there. So look for him to be maybe a little bit stronger now in this sprint race.
All right, so as we have this warm-up, we will be back with you in just a few minutes and catch this final sprint race for the rest of these points up for grabs tonight. So we will be back just a few minutes. All right, and we are back, and we will see these drivers take the grid soon. The warm-up session will be shortened, just a little bit out of order on this session, fortunately today, but luckily no problem. So yes, here we go. So that has been skipped. Drivers now starting to take the grid, and Will Borland is here on the grid. So we will see him here. Luckily, not missing the grid this time, and that is Zach Nurberger there, who will be our pole position sitter there in that purple 32 car.
Yeah, going to be very exciting to watch Terry Calger, Daniel Reel, and Will Borland slice their way through the field, and Ken Huber as well. So really looking forward to seeing the fast guys. And not that the guys up front aren't fast either. Some of them just had unfortunate luck in the last race, like Adrian Garcia. Look for him to be very strong.
Yeah, I was about to actually call that out. I think he should be a favorite to do well in this race, given its short length and the fact that he's there in the second place spot already. Let's see how he starts. This is a shorter gridding procedure, so they should be, engines revving now. Let's see where they go.
Here we go.
Good start for Nuremberger, flying off the line. Easily takes first, and Vihil's going to stay in second. Cube in third. Shallington fighting for fourth with Paletti. Vihil has actually kind of made some ground on Nuremberger ahead.
Bit of contact. Ken Huber unfortunately loses a few spots there.
Nobody, at least sideways back there. It doesn't look like. You see further back in the field this traffic. Oh,
no.
that is Paul Boyle missing a rear wing.
That is not good. Remember what I was saying? Those cars cannot drive without the wing.
He's driving a Peugeot out there, and he's gonna. Oh, that was expected.
Oh, yeah, that was. Oh, it's totally unfortunate. Oh, and Christopher Craig takes a big whack into the wall there.
John Kelly was here, just lost a spot.
That's going to be another red flag.
Yeah, you can see the drivers here slowing down. Terry Cogran, I think Kelly not quite aware of the red flag call, unless maybe he's just getting back. He may have lost positions on the start. Maybe he's getting back to that.
Those positions back when they come to the pit box. So I don't know if he was just unhappy about a move that was put on him here or what. Oh my goodness.
Okay, Terry Geiger Jr. involved in that. Will be able to at least get this fixed, but I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, that looked like a Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel at Baku.
Azerbaijan.
Yeah, and Terry, man. Terry, who was a favorite to possibly win this race since he was starting ahead of Will have to come back around. Now, again, they'll all get fast repairs, so they'll all go back to where they were. So no harm, no foul there. But those incidents will count against him.
Paul Boyle actually making it back. You can see exposed engine there and rear wing off the car. Don't know what initially caused that, but we certainly saw what happened afterwards. He's taking it kind of quick through these corners here. Do we need to tell him?
He's almost making it look like a pod racer. I mean,
yeah, it does.
That's pretty cool, man.
I do think someone needs to tell him that the orange on his wheels and the orange on his car don't match. But we can let the faux pas slide for now.
All right, I'll give him a stern talking to this week.
They are all going to enter the pit lane and will take their boxes, so it'll be in the order that they gridded up in, and we'll just run back out. The start will be on the leader, and that'll be whenever he wants to go. So, obviously, you can think about it tactically, and where's going to be the best time. So. There'll just be a little bit of downtime here. Unfortunately, not able to pull up any replays. Having some technical difficulties with the replays, so we are just gonna have the live feed for this.
Yeah, just to kind of walk you guys through what happened there. It looked like Paul Boyle and Christopher Craig, going into turn 2, made just very, very slight contact that actually took the wing off of Paul. And then Paul, at that point, is just trying to limp it back around, but he's just a passenger at that point. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do in these cars when you lose your rear wing, except maybe tow. But there was no option to tow there for him.
Yeah, Christopher Craig, unfortunately, I think also a driver that was involved in that first lap incident in the previous race. And again, it gets neutralized. But I do think that he was involved in that. So we see there, as far as drivers out, did Barnett and Elijah not take the grid for this heat here? I know Barnett was out of the previous race, so it wouldn't surprise me there. But Elijah did finish the last race, I thought.
Yes, he did. So I don't know if something came up or what, but he is not here,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
he is not on the track.
But it looks like we'll have 21 cars taking to the track here. So just waiting for Christopher Craig to get his car up on the jacks, to get it repaired. And then once he gets out there and in his position, we'll go back racing. All right, and the last cars just exited the pits, so they'll bunch the field back up, and then once we get the field in a good position, we'll go back racing.
You see there, Christopher Craig is the last driver on the track. He is coming up right now to the village. Makes his way through the loop as Nuremberger at the end of the Wellington Straight. So a little bit of grouping that they have to do. Certainly, John Kelly back in the pit lane.
I don't know what happened there. That is
my thing is saying that he crashed. I can't pull up that replay, but he may have actually had a collision here in this pace lap here.
I have to wonder if he didn't make it back around with that damage he had with Terry. I don't know if that was part of it or not. Interesting.
Something that we'll have to investigate afterwards. Now they're coming past Woodcote, trying to come down to the cups. There's a bit of a gap back there behind. I'm trying to get used to everybody, all new paints here.
Christopher Craig.
Is that okay?
Trying to catch up. Yep. And then once Craig gets caught up here, I think the stewards will probably give the go-ahead to resume racing. And it looks like they have given the go-ahead to resume racing on the Hanger Straight. So these drivers will come through the next two corners, and then we'll go racing again, it looks like.
All right, so we're not looking for any jumps here through Maggots Beckett's, although tactically it would be the perfect time to do it, but restarting on the Hanger Straight will be a little bit tough for Nuremberger to probably stay ahead of Vahil behind, given that he's not going to be able to have any of that dirty air to kind of spit Garcia behind it. It's just going to be instant tow.
He's going to be a sitting duck unless now remember, he controls when we restart here, so he might wait a little bit till we're further down Hainer Straight.
Is this the 2023 Indy 500, you know?
It could be, honestly.
Trying to get their tires warm.
It looks like Zach is just waiting. He has been given the go-ahead to start the race, and he is just biding his time here.
I think he knows what might happen if he goes right now. Weaving back and forth, coming down there, already near the end, almost to Stowe already, has not gone yet. He's going now, he's going now.
There he goes.
Green flag. Zach Nuremberger leads the field after the restart from the red flag. They're going to be finishing lap 2 when they come up to the line. Nick Terrell has already made a move on Paul Boyle in the back, Brian Privet on Christopher Newby, but I think everyone's making moves on everybody right now. Huber just made a move down into the braking zone of the Vale chicane there.
Yeah, very solid move by Huber. And Terry Calger looking to make a move on Daniel Rio. This is very close coming out of the last corner there.
Still close. Trying to warm his tires up in front of Gowland.
He's going for it.
I can't believe that he stuck it on the inside there. He made the move. He is fully ahead.
What a move. And Terry knows he's got to get as big a gap as possible right now to Borland, so he's making it happen.
A bit of a faux pas there with Real warming the tires directly in front of Calger, and maybe that incentivized a little bit of an aggressive send, but a wonderful pass by Calger to really send it all the way on the inside there of Abbey.
Yeah, and it looks like Nick Terrell making a move on Todd Bess. We'll see if he can get it done here.
Terrell's already up 7 spots, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him up some more. I think that it took him some time to get up to speed with the car in that first heat, and I think he'll have some better pace here in this sprint race.
Yeah, another one to keep an eye on is Christopher Newby, quite a ways back, but really has the pace. We'll be interested to see how he can slice his way through the field.
And Berquist.
Huber under attack by Jay. Oh, they almost make contact. Going through Maggots and Beckett's. Oh.
Terry following right behind, and he goes wide. He goes into the grass, and he loses control. And is he going to take anyone out? That's Borland narrowly avoiding. That everyone avoids. Oh, and he spins again with the hot tires.
Oh no, he goes again.
Oh,
he makes contact with Terrell.
That was bad. I know he's in the middle of the track, but that was a really bad rejoin.
Oh, and that's so unfortunate for Nick Terrell. We were just commenting on how he was bouncing back. He's got some damage from that.
Yeah, let's check in on his car here. Looks better than I thought it would have. A little bit of a glance, but you can see that front right of his wing, I think, is...
Oh, he gets hit! Brian Privet hits him!
Brian Privet.
Oh, Brian's really heated his tires. He gets going again now. Oh, that was just a bad racing deal. They were all bunched up because of what happened with Terry, and unfortunately some contact was made there.
Unfortunately, Brian Privet had a chance in this race to try to make up for an unfortunate first heat. It looks like it's going to be a tough first night for him, despite the pace that he's shown. Certainly, a driver we'll keep an eye on later in this season.
Just not to jump in here, but Adrian is now the leader. Like I don't know what happened, but he has overtaken Zachary Nurnberger.
Yeah, you are right. He has taken that lead, and that was actually a good amount back. That was like 30 seconds ago. Somehow we missed that there. But yes, Vihil has made his way to the lead, half a second ahead, and it is very tight with those top guys up there as well.
And Cube, Poletti, and Huber are nose to tail right now for 3rd through 5th. This is going to get really interesting going down Hainer Straight if they can follow close through here.
Poletti right now 3/10 ahead to Cube, 4/10 behind to Huber, all in this battle to try to get up to Nurnberger there in 2nd place.
Now do the drivers start thinking about fuel saving now that things have kind of worked themselves out a little? Do any of them think about possible fuel saving? They'd have to save about a lap or two. We saw about 17 laps. Now there was a red flag, so that could play a role in drivers making it or not making it here.
Yeah, it was not only a red flag, but also a long lap before they hit that green. That should help their fuel strategy. I mean, the design is that they shouldn't have to pit, but from what we saw in that first stint, or in that first race, the feature race, it may be close for most of these guys.
Yeah, I think so. And Nurnberger has closed the gap to Garcia. He is back on him here.
Borland making the move on Jay Shallington.
Whoa!
Nice.
That was a good move.
Looks like he's in a different car.
Yeah, and Borland now sees opportunity with Terry out of the race. Potentially one of his biggest threats to be fighting him as he comes through the field. He has kind of a little bit of an easier job now ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously less points for this sprint race than the previous one, but it is still a lot of points for Terry to lose. There are drop weeks, so nowhere there. But the unfortunate thing with the drop weeks is that it's going to be for the event as a whole. So that wonderful display he had in 2nd place is probably all for naught unless he has some more even worse races potentially. But this is a big turnout, so.
We see Borland's just kind of sizing up Huber here. He knows he can't make the move through here, but he's just going to try to follow as close as possible to put a move on him in down Hainer Straight.
Yeah, the gain in that looked like a little bit of net code there because there's nothing damage-wise on Borland's car. Bizarre incident.
He's got some damage.
Yeah, there is. But
and unfortunately, Ken Huber doesn't have a rear wing. We need to keep an eye on him to see if he can make it safely back to the pits. He's going to be really struggling here.
That was an interesting incident there. A little bit caught off guard, I think Borland was, but it didn't seem like the collision should have been that large, at least from the angle that we had there.
Now, does Borland come in and box? No, Borland stays out, so he keeps out, and I'm sure we'll see Huber come in.
Oh, that was
here.
close.
Whoa!
Oh, it's close again. Yeah, whoever's behind has to know he's coming in. It's Dylan Jr. there, I think.
Going back up front, Cube is all over the back end of Zachary Nurnberger here.
Nurnberger had a really good start off the line and unfortunately lost that because of the red flag. So he was not able to benefit from that great start. And it does look like he's falling back a little bit. Now, of course, reverse grid, that's what you expect. It's nothing against his driving here. He's doing quite well, and if he keeps his head on straight, it'll be a lot of good points here in the sprint race.
Absolutely. As we see, Poletti is also getting close here. We got a 3-car battle for 2nd. This is super exciting.
Paul Boyle is also getting real close to Nick Terrell here. Terrell, with that damage from that Terry Kiger Jr. collision. I can't believe more people were not involved in that. The fact that that was all that happened was kind of wild. But, yes, unfortunately, he was the one caught up.
Here comes Paul. Knows he can't make the move, but he's going to try to follow as close as possible through here. If these cars had a little bit more downforce, I think you'd be seeing a move through there. But just too hard in these cars to put a move. As we see, he's going to... Nope, he backs out.
Yeah, especially when you have to think of the tires as well. 18 laps is, I mean, it's not a short amount of time for these tires. That was a long stint, and we saw most people take tires in the previous race. So, I mean, they were not feeling happy with where the tires were at the end of 18 laps.
Yeah, it looks like, unfortunately, something has happened to the legendary motorsports car for Christopher Newby. He is in the pits and not in his car, so something happened there. Unfortunately, we missed it, but... tough luck for him because he had very strong pace in that first race.
Thought about it for a second for Paul. Borland putting in the fast lap and coming into the pit lane.
Cube might make a move on Zach here going into the corner.
Oh, backing out of that one for sure.
Backing out.
But yeah, Borland into the pit lane. So Borland already saying it's not happening. I'm not making it to the end. I've done the calculations. I can't save that fuel.
He gets that damage repair. I think even,
a touch between Boyle and Terrell just came together,
and Craig follows through.
just ever so slightly. And yeah, Christopher Craig taking advantage of that in that Toucan car, and Terrell is now behind both of them.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the Will Borland situation. With him pitting here, he has a clean racetrack now.
Yeah.
So while, yes, he did lose time and get some damage, he can now start putting in these really good laps in clean racetrack and possibly make up some positions if these other drivers have to pit in front of him.
Yeah, as an early pit goes, it's always just about how long do the people in front of you wait, because you don't want, I mean, it's nice to be out and have that clean track, but if he gets to the point where he's then catching up to these guys and he's losing time in the battles, I mean, that's going to really hurt his chances. So hopefully the timing works out well with just when everyone else comes into pit, at least for his sake.
Cube's got a very good run here. I think he's going to get the job done this time.
Well, Borland actually just made a move on Todd Bess as Steve Cube has that run on Zach Nürnberger. Nürnberger fighting it, but I don't think that he's going to have the tires to do it. Does not look like he's got it. He's going to pull out and maybe try to make the move again into the Vale chicane. No, he's going to back out. Okay, so that's the order. They're in. Jay Shallington flies into the pits.
Jay coming in, yeah. I think he realized, all right, I'm not making it at the pace we're running here, so he's coming in.
So you have to think, who are the guys? That is wide there by QA. You have to think, who are the guys out here who, in their mind, they're like, you know, I think I can make it to the end. I mean, Nicholas Paletti, in at least the GT3 cars, often one of the guys that takes it the longest stint of anybody in the field. Maybe he's somebody that can take it to the end of this race with some clever fuel saving and not have to take that 40-second pit stop.
Actually, it sounds like if we ride on board with Nick here, it sounds like he is letting out early on the straights here, trying to save some fuel. So this is something he is probably going to have to commit to and give up some time now.
Yeah, you could hear a little bit of a lift there before he got onto the brakes, although, of course, some of that is he can just use that draft in front from Nürnberger as long as Nürnberger's going the pace that he likes.
Yes, and now that Zach has fallen back to third, is Zach possibly fuel saving here as well? Trying to just get behind Cube and just kind of settle in and commit to that strategy of saving fuel. Again, they'll have to save about a lap and a half of fuel, which is no small task around here.
Yes, it'll be a tough call for some of these guys. I mean, hard to estimate on your own while you're the one in there driving the car how much time you're going to lose by doing all this fuel saving, because 40 seconds is a long time. So you could slow down a lot, but you know, to try to run that math through your head, I mean, yes, you can have a fuel overlay that.
Oh, Richard Curry around. Oh, that's a big incident. Oh, poor Richard Curry. He was having a great race.
Spins. You could see that he was spinning up those tires too much trying to rejoin. Hopefully he gets going straight here. Yes, he does. Clean off those tires.
These cars are so hard once you get the tires hot to get them going again. He was running in fifth, it looked like, at the time, so real unfortunate for him.
Yeah, and but as I was saying, you know, you can get an overlay that tells you how much fuel you got. You don't have an overlay that can tell you, you know, oh yeah, you should fuel save. If you fuel save this if you that's just something that's got to come from driver experience and maybe just taking a gamble on a difficult strategy. Because once you commit to that fuel saving, you got to do it. You can't half fuel save. You got to either push and come in for the fuel stop, or you got to save it. And I'm very interested to see who's able to do that save. We've already seen some really strong and experienced drivers already call it and come in for that pit stop. As Will Borland right behind Jay Shallington, both drivers who have already made their pit stop. So it's going to be a little bit of a tougher pass than the last couple that Borland's had.
I'll tell you who ain't fuel saving. Adrian Garcia. He is committed to just running full out, and I think is just kind of with the expectation that everyone else behind him is going to pit. So we'll have to wait and see.
Oh,
we see Will Borland.
He thought he had the gap there as he saw a little bit of a door open, but didn't have the acceleration to stick it through. Is he going to try to switch back here? He has the grip to do so. He's given room on the inside. Jay Shallington giving room on the inside. And he's already ahead, at least by a nose. And he's ahead.
We got a huge run by Daniel Reel and Paletti for third or fourth, rather.
He's off track, but I think that he will. I think he'll swallow that one to just get that potentially difficult move out of the way.
Oh, they go double file at the end of Hainer Straight. That is close.
Real able to stay in fourth place there, but Paletti pressured him so hard. I'll be honest, I don't know what the plus-minus graphic is referencing, but I don't. Nuremberger's obviously not up 10 spots. He started in first. Maybe he qualified 13th for the first race? I don't know.
Yes, it's based off of the first race there, so that's what we're seeing there, because he qualified 11th. Or, no, I don't know what that number is coming from.
I will, we'll just... We'll ignore it for now. Lock up there.
Zach, you're doing a great job.
I think he just had a lockup. Unfortunately, as we say his name, look, he's still holding his position, but saw some smoke up there, and this trio here trying to hunt him down.
I hope we didn't commentate to curse him. I hate doing that.
Oh, it's inevitable. It's gonna happen. He did say he's open to interview during the race or. In the pits if he's not in the race anymore, but I don't want to say he had a really strong first race. He's doing well in this race. He has not lost any more positions over the last little bit after that loss to Cube, so it's been really strong, and we just have to see what's he doing on that fuel strategy. Really aggressive line there by Thompson, just straight lining that as much as possible.
Yeah, Daniel Reel, who's leading the pack here of these four drivers, he actually has a little, or actually Nuremberger's actually leading the pack, but Daniel Reel has a little bit of nose damage, so I'm wondering if that's impacting him at all. But he did get a good run off the corner there and staying in touch with Zachary.
This looks like a strong move. Is he gonna send it?
Thought about it. Maybe a dummy
He's
move
on
there
the
to kind of make
inside,
him.
I think. Nope. Okay, so yes, he is behind. I was looking in the wrong direction on that camera, but yes, Nuremberger. That was a stout defense there. I wouldn't have blamed. Oh, can't hit that curb like that too many times. You heard him let off the gas as he nearly lost control of that car. And then look at that. Look, yeah. Paletti's caught up due to that.
Paletti had the speed there. Paletti is definitely fuel saving, and I think Steven Thompson behind him also fuel saving. These two are a little bit quicker right now, I think, but just kind of conserving their stuff and realizing that there's so many laps to go and they got to save the fuel. I
mean, if you were to tell me, hey, here's a list of names, not even in this race, just names in Pony Express, and we're gonna say Will Borland didn't make another spot there on Mark Dillon Jr. or Mark Dillon Jr. not having come in the pits yet. If you said, hey, give me two names of guys who will try a bold fuel-saving strategy, I think the first two names I would say would be Nicholas Paletti and Steven Thompson. It would not surprise me if that's what they're trying right now.
Yeah, and great bounce back for Will Borland to be up in 11th, already taking his pit stop, and he is setting some blistering times. Like, right now, his last lap was a 52.7. Most of the drivers out there running 53s and 54s, high 54s, besides maybe Adrian in the lead. So Will is definitely making that undercut worthwhile.
Yeah, the displayed lap time there is best, or last lap. So yeah, in those 52s, very rare company there. Couple guys who are putting in their fastest laps of the race, and actually two of them are right in front of him. However, it does look like he's about to take that spot from Nick Terrell regardless, as he continues to charge his way through this field. I mean, was it the right call to pit early? He is having to deal with this traffic. Even if they're somewhat easy passes, it's traffic nonetheless, and it doesn't make you faster.
No, but I think that damage was just hurting him a little too much in traffic there, and I think getting that damage repaired has really released him to kind of set that blistering pace like he did in the first race.
These drivers stay in order here. Nürnberger, Real, Paletti, and Thompson, but they continue to stay close. Nick Terrell, right at the end there, peeled into the pit, so another driver who is deciding to call it on the pit stop. And we're actually only down to 6 laps to go. This sprint race has really flown by.
Yeah, and honestly, this is anybody's race. Someone that we might not even be talking about right now could be, in contention for the win if they're saving enough fuel. Because it looks like the top 2 are definitely not fuel saving right now. They have pulled a gap on the rest of the pack.
I did realize it does say feature up there. That is not correct. This is the sprint race. It's just iRacing calls the last heat the feature of any setup. So just to clear up any confusion, the first race we had, that was the feature. This is the sprint. It's just no way around iRacing's naming scheme there. This it is interesting to see that the field has spread out a lot more than the first 12 laps in the feature. I actually would have thought it would be less, that with that experience on the track, the time on the track, that they would have gotten even closer, but it's actually really spread out right now.
I think you're seeing a more varying strategy between everyone. When to pit, if you're in traffic, when to
Oh, wow.
pit.
What was that back there?
William Alcala just lost it coming through there, and unfortunately having the same issue so many other drivers had.
How was his car not exploded? That was one of the most dramatic wrecks I've ever seen in the background, and his car is entirely intact. I don't even know how that's possible.
He did a fantastic job keeping that off the wall. We got a very close battle now. Zachary Nürnberger is under attack.
It's contact. Real lucky to avoid losing control again there. And actually Thompson now trying to make it on the outside of Paletti. No room. Paletti not giving him room to go to the outside there.
Yeah, Thompson, it seems like it's go time. Maybe Thompson has saved enough fuel now that he is ready to pounce on Paletti.
And as you notice, now due to this battling here, Kevin Bergquist right there joining the battle as well, less than a second to Stephen Thompson in front. So maybe trying to clean up some scraps here in what has been pretty close and could cause some incidents. Real coming to the inside, now trying to make his first really, really strong move here into Brooklands, and Nürnberger is trying to fight it, but no, it doesn't look like he's got it. I don't think he's got the grip to do so.
I think part of that is he was out front of this train for a very long time. Maybe now he realized, oh shoot, I'm not going to make it. So maybe now he's dropping back to save a little bit of fuel.
Yeah, Kevin Berg was continuing to catch up to that group just a little bit. Has had a quiet race, I think. Even really had a quiet first race, given that. Oh, I think that may have been another contact there with Thompson and Paletti. Thompson making the move.
He got him. Gets around Paletti. Incredible to go through too wide there.
A little bit of a disconnect error or issues for Nürnberger. Hopefully no internet problems for him.
Thompson's on to the next one. He's got to run on Nürnberger here.
Yeah, this is some momentum that Thompson's got, and if he can get it through here, he can try to keep with Dan Real ahead. But this is tough. Nürnberger's really fighting this. Oh, he backs out. He backs out of it.
Oh, and we see Daniel Riehl coming in. So Daniel Riehl cannot make it. So these guys will inherit third now. Stephen Thompson moves up to third.
Now, do we see Thompson start to lay back a little bit? And he may have used some good fuel there in those passes. He was going all out. I mean, I'll tell you that much.
You have to wonder, he was behind Paletti for so long. Has he saved enough? And has his crew chief given him the okay to push now?
Paletti on a very different line from Nürnberger ahead. Was not able to make the pass there, but he's got Sindic going down into the corner. And the Nürnberger really aggressively tries to shut off that corner and actually maintains the position. I actually can't believe he can. Oh, loose. He's going to lose it.
Run back.
He's going to lose the spot here. Is he?
Doesn't have enough speed. He has to jump back in line. I don't think he's got it. But here comes Kevin Bergquist, a really handy driver. Very quiet out there, but having a great race.
Here is Paletti on the inside. Hoosberg was going to follow. He's kind of hedge his bets in the middle, not really try to make a move on either guy. Nurnberger trying to set up the next turn, at least to just defend behind. Still in 5th place for Nurnberger, so still a strong race. That is the only curse of having that reverse grid pole, is you can only lose positions.
I want to highlight Will Borland. He is up to 8th now. Is slowly climbing through. He is the highest driver that has pitted now. So just something to keep an eye on as this race winds down.
Yeah, you compare him. We just saw Real come in for the pits. 12 seconds between the two. So Borland continued to put in that pace that we saw in that first race, very strong. And if that is the correct strategy, he's probably the favorite to win here. Has not been slowed down too much, I don't think, by the traffic. He's got a couple seconds ahead now to Christopher Craig.
Yeah, we're entering the stage of the race now where fuel's going to get tight. We're probably going to see more drivers pit. I'll tell you one thing, though. Steven Thompson has just completely blown Zach away in these last few laps. He is just
into the pits.
Berquist. Yeah.
Okay, so he used a lot of fuel trying to catch up to that group, apparently. Interested to see where he comes out. It certainly having a strong race so far. But here's the nice thing with a lapped race is that you do know exactly how much is left in the race. There's no trying to calculate when that white flag is going to come, anything like that. So they know they're on lap 15. They have 4 laps to go, and it'll hopefully get at least inform their decisions a little bit more. Shouldn't see anybody actually running out of fuel, but I guess we'll see.
Solid bounce back for Christopher Craig here. Was in that incident with Paul Boyle on the first or second lap of this heat and is currently in 6th. So shout out to him. Great run.
Ken Huber here trying to make his way into the top 10. It's cracked under 1 second to Daniel Real ahead. Again, Real just came out of the pits, so no slouch in front of him for sure. We'll see if he's got that pace to catch up. Paletti is falling away a little bit from Thompson. Nurnberger falling away from Paletti, so that close field at the front, couple guys from their pit, and the other couple guys are starting to spread out just slightly. And yeah, I think they're probably looking at their fuel gauge more than the track right now.
Yeah, just to point out, Nurnberger just coasted through Maggots and Beckett's. Hardly any throttle input, just really letting the car do all the work through there and save that precious fuel. I think it's going to be very interesting for these top 5, who can make it and who can't.
And here's the other thing to consider. So if we look at this overall gap, right now, Borland 18 seconds off of the lead. So, I mean, obviously, if you pit now, you're coming out way behind Borland. Anybody ahead of him is coming out way behind him. So it really begs the question on, I mean, is the slowdown, are these drivers trying to make it to the end, is it going to slow them down enough that Borland's able to catch up? We don't know if Garcia up there is trying to do fuel saving. He came off to a really hot start, and I don't know if he can make it, but it does seem like Borland continuing to catch up, and it depends on how he's going to catch up to the rest of this field too.
Yeah, we're on 3 to go. When we come back around, it'll be 2 to go, and I don't think Borland has enough time to get him on speed, but he's definitely going to be on for a top 5 here, if even just one of the drivers in the top 5 can't make it. So great bounce back for him, and really just making use of that clean racetrack. But if we ride on board with Paletti here, as he comes up to Maggots and Beckett's, you're going to hear him really letting out early on throttle, and I think he's just in fuel desperation mode.
Yeah, that was a tactical upshift there. Early shifting, just trying to keep those revs a little bit low, I think, to minimize fuel usage. Oh, and off track there for Steven Thompson. What a wonderful race he was having. Keeps it out of the wall. He's going to be able to rejoin without losing too much time. But, he really had it on for, vying for the race win, potentially based on strategy.
Top two are in. So Thompson would have been our leader without that incident, but
yeah.
now Paletti becomes the leader.
So, potentially race winning. I mean, that's an understatement there if this no pit is the strategy. So Garcia and Cube both at the same time saying can't make it 2 more laps, or at least wouldn't be able to make it to the end. Will Borland has now moved his way up to 6th place. Christopher Craig coming into the pit, so that's going to be 5th place for him. He's already going to be the top 5 and have had his pit stop.
Borland is potentially fighting for a podium here. He beats Adrian out of the pit, so yeah.
Oh, he's fighting for more than the podium. He's only 6 seconds back. Depending on what Nick needs to do with fuel, I mean, we don't know how much this is going to lose him. He's 5 seconds back from Nuremberger. He's 6 seconds back from Paletti. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. But we have some interesting candidates up at the front with the fuel strategy.
Yeah, lap and a half to go, and I think we really need to keep our eyes on the leaders to see if they start stumbling with their fuel and not able to make it or something. I think we need to keep an eye on them and see what happens.
Yeah, Nuremberger's keeping up with play. Seems like maybe Nuremberger had a little bit more. It just was strange considering he was leading that group for so long. Paletti was in that squad, maybe able to take advantage of some tow. And that's not something that Nuremberger's had for a lot of this race, but it seems like he's got the confidence to make it to the end.
I think, while yes, Nuremberger was out longer out front, I think he's been conserving more here. He's really been easy on the throttle, and Paletti has been too, but with Paletti now out front here, I don't know. It's got to be interesting as they come around here for the white flag. But Will Borland is continuing to cut the gap, now down to 5 seconds.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's the rate that he needs to catch up to these guys on this final lap, but just goes to show how close these two strategies were. I mean, he had to start from 10th place and fight through traffic, and he's still there, just 5 seconds off the lead coming into the final lap.
Yeah, had a major incident in there too with Ken Huber, so great bounce back from him.
Here is the white flag. Paletti coming around the final corner and is about a second gap between these two. 5 seconds back to Borland. Obviously both committing to the no pit stop because this was their last opportunity to do so. Let's see if they can make it or if they're about to sputter out coming to the line.
Yep, and thing to note, Stephen Thompson also on that no pit stop strategy in 5th, had that incident, but he's also trying to make it as well.
Yeah, may still get into that top 5. Dan Real dropping to the back. Not sure what happened there.
And Zach is closing in a little bit on
7
Paletti
tenths. And actually, a lot of that is Paletti losing the time. I don't think that Borland's caught up to Nuremberger as much as they've both caught up to Paletti right now.
You have to wonder if Paletti's looking at his fuel gauge and seeing that it's close or something, and maybe he's just trying to save a little bit more here.
Look at that, half a second slower in sector 2 there. That's a 6/10 gap now between the two, but we only got about half a lap to go. All right, Dan Real must have been an error there. Position 8 reestablished there. Thompson losing a spot to Jay Shallington, so will not finish top 5 unless he can reclaim that.
Yeah, Will Borland cuts another second out of these leaders. Another lap or two, and man, he would have been right there. But I don't think he's going to catch these guys unless fuel becomes a factor.
I imagine another lap or two, these guys can't make it, regardless. That's how it came this close. Ken Huber trying to make a move on Christopher Craig in the back, but we got to follow this. This is for the lead, half a tenth. I don't think Nuremberger's going to be able to do it unless Paletti is really running out of fuel here.
Paletti really goes light into that corner there. I think Paletti's very close, just trying to conserve here.
They're both doing what a bold strategy to call, but it has paid off for both of them as they're going to come across 1-2. I think it's going to be Paletti leading, Nuremberger second. Looks like Nuremberger has just slightly more in the tank. Nuremberger's got more. He's going around the outside. Nuremberger takes the lead. Nuremberger wins the sprint race by 1/10 as Paletti runs out of fuel coming across the line, and Will Borland finishes just 3 seconds off of the pair.
Oh, and Paletti, just heartbreak for him, just running out of fuel right as he went to put the throttle in coming on that corner. And unfortunately, he made Zach go around the long way, but Zach had enough fuel to get it done.
I can't believe that was what a move around the outside. I mean, to have that, I can't even, that was so close on the fuel. And we even missed Stephen Thompson there, nearly reclaiming that 5th place position from Jay Shallington, was also a 10th and a half off. What a finish to this race. I mean, the fuel strategy wasn't supposed to come into play, but I am not upset that it did.
No, not at all. Those three, Thompson, Paletti, and Nürnberger, fantastic job saving the field, knowing that they needed to save it pretty early on in the stint. But I think it's going to be heartbreak for Adrian Garcia, who really commanded the first half of this race and unfortunately just did not have the fuel at the end to get it done.
Let us look at our results. We'll go over results for both right here. So our race 1 results, we didn't have time to go over them before. Winner of the feature race, earning the full 30 points, is Will Borland, followed by Terry Calgary Jr. and Ken Hubert, rounding out the podium. Top 5 includes Dan Real and John Kelly. From there, and John Kelly, first of the B runners as well. Of course, he may become A in the next couple races, but he's B for now. Jay Shallington in 6th, Nick Paletti in 7th, Steve Cube 8th, Adrian Garcia 9th, and Zach Nurber in 10th. 11th for Thompson, Berquist behind him, Todd Bess, Richard Curry, William Alcala, Paul Boyle, Christopher Craig, Nick Terrell, Christopher Newby, Leonardo Elijah, and Brian Privet, Mark Dillon Jr., and Daniel Barnett.
And then for the sprint race, we had Zach taking a barn burner of a finish right there at the end on the outside of the last corner on Paletti, who finished 2nd. Will Borland bounces back from some early on issues to take a podium and take the overall victory for the night. Adrian Garcia, who led most of the race, will finish 4th. Jay Shallington had a solid both races tonight and pulls off a top 5 there. Stephen Thompson stretches his fuel for 6th. Kevin Berquist 7th. Christopher Craig, who had that incident with Paul Boyle at the beginning, bounces back for 8th. Ken Huber, who also had a pretty major incident where he had trouble rejoining just due to the amount of damage he had, bounces back for 9th. Steve Cube, who had a good first heat, not so strong in the second heat. Paul Boyle 11th. Mark Dillon Jr. a solid 12th. Richard Curry 13th. William Alcala, who did that incredible save to keep it off the wall on the Hainer Straight. Good job to him to come home 14th. Nick Terrell 15th, Brian Privet 16th, Daniel Reel, who was really strong but had some issues at the end there, finished 17th, Todd Bess 18th, Christopher Newby 19th, Terry Calgary Jr., who had that early on incident 20th, John Kelly 21st, Leonardo Elijah 22nd, and Daniel Barnett, who did not start the race, the second race, 23rd.
Man, what a couple of races we had to start this season. I mean, I think that's probably the most exciting race I've broadcast, period. So it was great to have you on board here for this OF race season. I'm excited to see some more races. Again, we will have these open wheel races every other week. I need to get a quick reminder over the next race that we have coming up is Red Bull Ring, a fantastic track I love. And I mean, if Silverstone gave us some action, Red Bull Ring may give us even more. So bring your inhalers and keep your water bottles close, because I think we're going to have some action. So we will be back with some interviews, hopefully before next race. Some technical issues causing some our inability to do some interviews with our race winners here, but you will hear from them in the future. But what a wonderful couple races. Anything you got to add there, Aaron?
No, it was a fantastic race. Love the wheel-to-wheel racing that we see that we don't typically see in the more endurance style racing. And I think you're right. Red Bull Ring, when we ran it a few seasons ago, was fantastic in these cars. And I think you're going to see even more aggressive turns, aggressive overtakes going into the turn, since there's a lot more heavy braking there. So really looking forward to being back for that race and broadcasting it with you.
Looking forward. Again, see us back here on Wednesday night next week for the season debut of E4A with the LMP3 and GT3 cars at Daytona. And if you're here for the open wheels, you will see us back at the Red Bull Ring in 2 weeks. So have a good night, everyone.